Hey, everybody. Welcome to the interview room. We're so glad you're with us on this Monday evening. And yes, Chris and I regrettably were not able to go live yesterday, Sunday, at our normal time. So this is about the first available time we could make it. So thank you for your patience, and thank you so much for being here with us.
It's great to see everybody in our chat. Man, we missed you guys on Sunday night. But we saw a lot of you. We saw so many we met so many people, and we wanted to get in here and kind of give you a recap of not only our old friends that quite frankly, we know you by your handle, but it's just so much better and so neat. I wish Karen and I could meet every single one of you in person.
It really is so much fun. We had no idea how overwhelmingly fun and joyful it was. I mean, it blew our minds that you guys even would come up to us and talk and say hi. So it was incredible. But hang on, Chris, before we go further, we want to thank our mods, Miss Sophia, Maui Girl, Mimi J2, Teresa M, and Laura Waldy. Also, we're going to send prayers out to Teresa M's husband, Jeff. He's going through some medical treatments. Our prayers and love go out to him at this time. And to thank our mods. These are wonderful, incredible women who give up their time and are so gracious and make our chat the welcoming place that it is. So thank you so much, ladies.
And thank you for doing that, honey, because seriously, everybody, Teresa's husband needs our prayers, and Karen and I are firm believers in that power. So let's send him his way. He's going through some treatments, and today's a big one, and she's out there with him where she should be. Always family first, right? Always family first. And of course, thank you, Tina, and thank you everybody, who supports us. And I mean, golly, Karen.
Well, I also want to thank and shout out our Patreon members. We are so grateful for the support and love and comments that we hear back from you. So thank you to our Patreon members and our subscribers and our YouTube members. And if this is your first time here, welcome. We just ask you one thing, if you would just click the subscribe button, and we'd love to have you back.
And, we have a goal. We're about 230 something thousand. We want to try to hit 300. So that's our goal. If you have friends or family, that you could share our channel with, we would greatly appreciate it. And you hear Buddy. By the way, Buddy made a trip to Denver, and I mean, he was outside the hotel with me multiple times, checking his email and his text messages that were coming in. And we were surprised with all the puppies that were up there.
Yeah, Buddy certainly wasn't the only one. A number of people brought their dogs, which we love seeing. It's so great. Yeah. Yeah, Laura, Buddy's chiming away out there. Buddy approves.
And Vinny, I mean, that guy's hysterical, isn't he? I love that guy. He is absolutely just hysterical. And who the only person I could not catch is Miss Nancy Gray. She's like trying to herd cats. she, she is so, up there, and people, I went by, tried to see her. I met of course, I know all the staff and everybody, and we all took pictures, but we could not get a picture with Nancy. And so that young lady goes 1,000 miles an hour, and there is no way I could catch her. She was just doing so many VIP events and that kind of stuff. So, but that said, I think we caught just about everybody else. Karen,
Yeah,
what do you
I
think?
hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I was just blown away. All the people who came up to us were so kind, so thoughtful. Hard to believe it's been oh wow. Thank you, Denise, for 11 months with TIR. We're grateful. Um, so yeah, and also at the same time, we should say, CrimeCon is really all about you. It's all about the people who support the channels and the true crime interest. And we know that a lot of people can't go. A lot of people can't go to CrimeCon for a whole number of reasons: financial, medical. People have very busy lives. But for us, it was a special treat for those who were able to go and for us to be able to connect. I mean, I tell you, it was fun. It was interesting. We learned things. But for me, and I think I can speak for Chris as well, the best part was just getting to stop and talk and chat with those of you who know our channel and like true crime, and just to find out, to shake your hand and give you hugs, and what's your name, and how far did you travel, what city are you from, and what are some of the cases that you're really, really interested in, and all that stuff. So for us, that was really the best part, just connecting with those of you who were able to be there.
Yeah, it really was. And we are, we're grateful because, we met so many neat people. And just let me give you a simple example, right? We had one young lady who follows us, and she walked up as we were going in to an event, and she says, "You two have hearts of gold."
That
And then
was Jessica. Her name was Jessica.
and her friend,
Mhm.
who's been going through some serious health issues as well. She was using crutches, etc., and she had hip surgeries. And she was just the both of them just brave little souls. Anyway, she gave us these little trinkets here and
Those are
saying
hearts of gold.
hearts of gold.
Oh my goodness. I
And
mean,
Jessica, thank you so much. Karen
yeah,
and I were
Jessica, you are so sweet.
blown away.
Blown away.
It
Blown
was
away.
so neat to meet you, and it was so sweet. Exactly, Carol. It was just so neat. But these are the small but yet huge experiences. This is more important than in my heart and in Karen's heart than meeting anybody at CrimeCon. What I mean by that is, we've met all the celebrities. We don't that stuff is, it's good. But we've never met Jessica. We've never met also another young lady who walked up to us from Mexico.
Mexico.
And
Mexico City.
she made these keychains in Mexico and brought them from
So
Mexico
sweet.
City. It was just off the hook, off the hook. And then, we were chatting it up with Debbie, right, Karen?
Yeah, Deborah. Yeah.
Deborah.
From Tennessee.
And Martino. Woo! Martino, you know who you are. Okay. So we used to live in Spring Hill, Tennessee, years ago. And we were just chatting it up, yada, yada. And we were sharing stories because she lives in Spring Hill, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing you know, she brings us our old address coaster.
No, it's zip code. It's
Zip
Spring
code,
Hill.
yeah. Zip code.
So thoughtful. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And it's on my desk, Debbie. It's on my desk right in front of me. My
Chris's new
ginger ale
coaster.
goes right there. And
So
we are
so kind.
so grateful for that. And these are just a few of the few experiences that we want to share with you guys tonight, and tell you also, give you a recap, not only about, you, because for Karen and I, it's about you, our subscribers, our friends. It's because of what we do. We do this for you. And we are so grateful to each and every one of you. And it became so apparent, while we were there. I know, right, Barb? Don't you wish we get Canada Dry up here? Shameless plug, Canada Dry. Shameless plug. But I mean, it was just so exciting to run into you. And so here's the word for next time. And by the way, the next one's going to be in Las Vegas, Karen.
Yep, it is next year. Mm-hmm.
In May, and it's going to be at Caesar's Palace. It sounds like. Now I could be wrong on the location, but I've heard through the grapevine it could be Caesar's Palace.
I think it's on the website, so I think we're safe there.
Are we okay?
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
Yeah, I don't want to open my mouth and surf my foot, which you guys know I'm quite capable of doing that multiple times. And thank you, LJ, forever. But anyway, what I was saying is, to get one-on-one time, and what we're going to try to do on the next one is we're going to have our own meetup with you
at CrimeCon.
While
CrimeCon's going on, yeah.
If you're going to be there, and if you can make it to Lost Wages, that's what we call it, Lost Wages. If you can make it, we're going to do our own meet and greet, in terms of we're just going to find a spot. We're all just going to hang out, and we're going to laugh. We're going to laugh together. Those of you who came to meet me know that I'm a goofball. I mean, we spent time with Kelly, and
forgive us if we forget your names, because we're getting older, and there was just a lot of people. It's the faces that we connect with, and so if we botch your name, please forgive us. Well, how about from Idaho, Stacy and her twin sister Ginny, and their Stacy's cool husband, the pilot.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You guys are awesome. The twins. Yeah.
And so her husband, we call them the twins. Okay.
And you know who you are.
So he was a Tomcat pilot in the Navy. I mean, we're not just talking, a pilot. We're talking like a Top Gun dude. And oh my gosh, we were cracking up because he worked as a consultant actually on the new movie Top Gun with Tom Cruise.
Oh, Top Gun 2.
Top Gun 2. And he was so funny because he tells a story about, he's there as kind of like the real deal. And Tom Cruise wouldn't talk to him. He talked to the director, and then the director would ask him a question. Okay. Yeah. He's the real Maverick. He is the real Maverick. Okay. And so what was funny about that is, as we're laughing, I said to him, I said, back when they filmed the very first Tom Cruise movie in San Diego County,
Top Gun. Mhm.
Top Gun, I guarded him for four days. I guarded Tom Cruise
And you
and
had the
Kelly.
same experience he did.
He didn't talk to me, not once, nor my partner, Rich Davis, not once.
Well, that's Hollywood for you, I guess.
Yeah, Hollywood.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it was hysterical because apparently he's not changed. And also, I have to tell you about the trench coat girls. You know who you are. So Karen was in line getting, something, and folks were talking to her, and she's chatting it up over here. And so I went and I lowered somebody's property value by sitting at their table, and we were, laughing. And they started telling me about when they were growing up, how, they were the victims of, some dude pulling the trench coat over. I said, you notice that guy's not here anymore? Isn't that an interesting, type of situation? Where did that guy go? Anyway, so I told him I'd give him a shout out. And so I have fulfilled my obligation. And then, of course, Kelly, I'm giving you a shout out, Kelly, as promised. And I'll tell you, we had such a great time with you two the other night, laughing, telling stories.
It's really amazing that this is a one time of the year place for us to be able to connect with those of you who want to go or able to go. It's an absolute honor and a treat for Chris and I to be able
Yeah.
to connect with you guys. I don't know of any other forum that would even allow something like that. And of course, it's not just you guys are connecting with your other favorites and hearing about, speakers and doing meet and greets, So selfishly for us, we love that anybody in our TIR family community to be there. It's just wonderful for us to be able to connect with you guys.
And Kelly had an interesting theory that I told her I would share with everybody. And Miss Kelly, thank you so much for even sharing this concept. She said her theory was when Koberger was fighting with Maddie and Kaylee, that she thinks that Maddie either pulled the sheath away or Kaylee pulled the sheath away, knowing that while she was fighting him, at some point, knowing that if the sheath was there, maybe it would be a clue. Isn't that an interesting thought? I said, that is a really interesting thought, because everybody's been thinking, oh my gosh, maybe everybody's been thinking he dropped it. Well, what if Kaylee or Maddie, like Kelly's thinking, because of the fight, actually got it away from him?
Yeah,
And isn't that an interesting thought, Karen?
Yeah.
So I told her I would share that with everybody, and I thought it was very interesting too. Okay, I thought it interesting, and she did say, yes, Tam, she did say that Kaylee did watch true crime, and how fascinating would that have been if, in fact, that would be the case. So I thought that was interesting, and I thought she was onto something. So I wanted to share that with everybody. So, Karen, highlights from what was going on here. We met a lot of people. Let's talk about some of the channels. We got to hang out with Lauren from Hidden True Crime.
Yeah. Do you want to show the photos or no?
Sure. Or
not
what
was your plan? Not yet. Okay.
Yeah, let's talk. We met Scott Rausch from,
Rice. Crime Talk.
Yeah.
Oh man, so many people. Some of the guys from the behavior panel.
Yep, we met
um,
Scott and Greg.
and Greg Hartley.
Great, great people. Just great. All of
Really.
these great people. We
Yeah.
met Elise, 10 to Life. You
Oh,
know,
yeah. She was so
she's
sweet.
a sweetie. Vanessa, we saw Vanessa.
Oh, Vanessa from Unmasked. Yes.
Yep.
Shout out to Vanessa. So fun seeing her.
And Lauren, Hidden True Crime. We spent a lot of time with her and chit chatting it up. And yeah. And by the way, what's really interesting is everybody gave everybody advice on helping each other. I mean, there was no competition there at all.
Yeah.
And Karen and I love that. We absolutely
It was
love
really great.
that. Who else?
Thank you, Heather. Um,
We newspapers.com. We met with those folks. You know, they said hi. You know, they and
how
you
about the women from, I think you have their card with you, Missing and Murdered. I want to make sure I get this right.
oh
So
yes, yes,
Missing and
yes.
Murder and Dene Relatives Coalition. So
Yes.
that would be Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, is that Navajo Nation?
Yep.
Dene
Out of
relatives,
Colorado.
or does that include other tribes, other
Nope.
indigenous tribes?
Out of
Okay.
Colorado, and we've been hooking
Well,
them up.
they have different chapters. The women from the Colorado chapter spoke, and then this group had their coalition. And one of the things that Chris, you can show that one more time. They said that they are in the process of creating an app for indigenous families. They've created this whole like checklist of remember they showed it to us there. Anyway, they said they're making it an app because they want to be able to make it really easy for people of the Navajo community, probably other tribes as well, to be able to report like instantly if a family member is missing or if a crime has been committed or something like that. And so it was really neat to see them. They were all women. They were just so passionate about their organization and the cause. So anyway, that was really great to see. And yes, Mimi, we saw Ann Burgess. We ran into her, which was wonderful.
The legend.
Go ahead.
No, our Ann, the legend.
Yes.
Yeah.
The living legend. Yeah, over on we took a video, we did a short video with her. It's over on our Patreon account. Our Patreon members can see it. So that was really fun. And got photos with her too.
No, and next time, yeah, feel free. I mean, if you see Karen and I in Vegas and you're there,
come on over.
Yeah, we
come
love
on over and say hi and introduce yourself because we want to meet you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We saw Kobe, you know, and a lot of these folks
there were so many people there. It
they
was
were
thousands
so
of people. Yeah.
They were so I talked to Nate, you know, from, you know, News Nation. We talked to Ashley Bamfield, Vinny. I mean, but as you guys know, I mean, these folks are, you know, they're so busy and they're going 1,000 miles or an hour. And Karen and I decided not to get a booth. We just decided, let's just be with the people.
Yeah, I mean, booths are great, but you have to stay there for many hours. And if people are watching or going to hear speakers and they're not there, then you kind of miss them. So we just thought, well, we'll just, cruise around and just go to everything that everybody else is going to. And so we were really pleased we did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian is really good. We like him too. Yeah.
He's awesome. And we saw Nate from his Eastern, Idaho Eastern News.
East Idaho News. Yep.
Yeah. East Idaho News. And so, yeah, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, but I'll tell you, the funny part is we had Buddy there, as we've shared. And thank you for Heather for being here for 34 months. Wow. We're so grateful.
Thank you, Heather.
And Buddy had more fans than my sweet wife, who's adorable. And I'll tell you, and yes, Ann Jeanette was there. Yes. What amazing. She's an amazing woman as well.
She is. She is.
And
You know, a lot of them on the networks were busy. They were broadcasting from there and busy. You know what was so funny? Almost everybody to the person when they saw us, they said, "Is Gary here? Is Dr. Brucato here?" And Gary did not go to this CrimeCon. He was at the previous one. And so actually, side note, Gary is very busy co-editing a book with Chris.
yeah.
That's going to be coming out end of the year, maybe the beginning of next year. And so Gary sent his well wishes and hellos to everybody, but Gary wasn't there.
You see right here, Unforbidden
Podcast.
Truth.
Awesome.
It was so great meeting everybody. I mean,
Thank
thank
you
you.
so much for coming in. Yeah, it really was wonderful to meet
I
this
mean,
weekend. So
that
good.
was the cool part. That was the cool part, right? Because
Yeah.
when you just know folks, and then I mean, we met Mark Tinsley and his sweet wife, who has
And she has a
has
brand new
a new
podcast.
podcast. Let me get the
Okay,
card.
so all right, hang on. Let's do this right. So, attorney Mark Tinsley, and by the way, the link to her brand new podcast is in our show notes here. So you'll remember, for those of you who forget, Mark Tinsley was the attorney for Mallory Beach family. And Mallory Beach was the 19-year-old girl who died in the boating crash that Paul Murdaugh was responsible for. And really and truly, Mark Tinsley was really responsible for bringing down Alec Murdaugh. The information Mark had and was able to give the prosecutor, Creighton Waters, really was the key to the whole Alec Murdaugh double murder case. So Mark Tinsley's an amazing guy. His sweet wife, Stephanie, is awesome. And you guys got to go listen to her brand new podcast. And again, we have that link below.
Yeah, and Gary.
Hey, yes, thank you so much. It was great meeting you.
Gary, so we have a, well, we can talk about it now because we're already so far down the pipeline. But so McFarland Books is publishing a book on the Cold Case Foundation. It's going to be an amazing read. They're big deal. They're a big deal. And Gary and I are on the cover. We have been working on this thing, and we have so many authors. There's like 16 world-renowned experts that are going to be in this book. It's going to be a one of a kind. So we're almost there in terms of how close we are to being finished. And when that book comes out, it's going to be a game changer, because we go into, not only we're writing it with you guys, you, the audience, you, our friends, and we call you friends, that you can use it as a reference, for families. I mean, when we were sitting with Mark, we were sitting, with his sweet wife, and we were just talking, and with Jeanette, Livy, we were all just sitting around talking, and we were like, to the person, everybody that was there, in terms of who had a podcast or was, always on TV, that kind of thing. All we talked about was you, and how blessed we feel to come to know you. And for Karen and I, this was, like I said, this was an eye-opening event for us, because, you don't really get to interact with folks. And then when you see, the other side of just, the notes here, right, and the chat, okay, it drives it home even further of why we do what we do. And then when you sit in these breakout sessions,
which we'll get to, yes,
Yeah, and we're gonna talk to you a little bit about that. And for those of you who know, I worked in the on the Ramsey case back in 1997, and I had some time there to chat with John. And it's really interesting how the universe is on schedule, everybody.
Yeah, that's really kind of seemed a little full, not little, but full circle for you. So Chris is talking about talking with John Ramsey. He was one of the presenters at CrimeCon, and we're going to talk about what he was talking about. And we got some fresh news about his pursuit to have some of the evidence tested, DNA tested now with great DNA technology with an outside lab. We'll get to that. But yeah, I didn't even think about that till you just said that because, well, I'll let you tell it, but Chris actually got to talk to Lou Smith, who was the investigator on the JonBenét Ramsey case. Now we're talking back in 1997. And anyway, Chris got to talk to John Ramsey, at the event. So that was really good.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yes, you're so kind.
it's so interesting. One of the things about me, and I see Dr. Gary's here. He's taking a break from editing. We love Gary.
Hi, Gary.
And he's going to be on with Josh tonight in a call-in show over at the lab. So make sure when you're done with us, we'll be done before that time. Get over there and listen to those two. But when we look back, and I've done so many cases. I hate to admit it, but quite frankly, the good Lord's given me the ability to kind of compartmentalize a lot of things. And I literally have to go to my book, my log book, and open it up and read, oh yeah. Or I'll be reading through, some paperwork or commendations that I had. It's called the lab, Georgia girl. And because you can't keep up with all the victims, you can't keep up with all the suspects. So it's fun when you're meeting somebody one-on-one, but a lot of people don't understand, in some of these bigger cases, you purposely can't get emotionally tied into the dynamics sometimes, because then you can't think critically without having an emotional response. You have to maintain a professional response for the ability to think critically. And I had some people talk to me, while we were there about what we thought, about certain things. And I said, to be honest with you, there's kind of if you don't have, you have the training, but if you don't have the experience, you get caught up in the emotion. And when that happens, you get blind spots.
Do you think that is why we see more emotional prosecutors and judges? Koberger case, where in the past you would not have seen anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good point. Because that's where you see, when the district attorney comes out and Santa Claus starts talking about, he's wiping his tears away from his eyes, and don't misunderstand. This is exactly what I had said. They got caught up in the emotion, and when you do that, you cannot have critical thinking, because emotional is by definition irrational thinking, because you're responding with the emotion. And
Well, yeah, and I would just say that it's not that they're not human and not supposed to could express it. It's just not at that time.
right,
People want strong leaders, the judge, the prosecutor, the the jury, the families, the trial watchers, they have the emotion.
yeah,
But the people leading the charge, the leaders here, um, yeah, somebody said it's startling. Yeah, definitely agree. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
yeah, and when we go back and we look at um, just the first officer on the scene in that case, there's a guy, he is out of breath at the top of the stairs, not because he's not physically fit. It's because he's been beaten emotionally for a moment with this observation of what he's seeing. And when you hear the district attorney say, you know, that's going to, it's affected us forever. Okay. I understand that statement, but what happens on the next one if he would have stayed in the game? And you can't unerase that. You're always going to have the visual. You're always going to have that visual of the horrific crime that they witnessed. But there are thousands of people across this country, day to day, minute by minute. Look at the people on the train of that one girl in North Carolina, the young gal from Ukraine, and the suspect comes up behind her and massacres on the train. They're going to be emotionally, impacted. The eyewitnesses. Now, when the police get involved, they're supposed to be at a different level professionally. They're trained to go see that stuff. And if they start breaking down, then that's, I guess, where I was going here, that it just gets into something that is just crazy, just crazy. Now, and because that leads us to who do the families look for or look to for the strength? They look to the investigators. And when
And the
you're
court and the courts, the court system too.
right, and when you empower, that dirtbag, Brian Koberger, when you empower him by letting him see that emotion, okay, he takes that to that holding cell, and that's fuel for his diabolic scheme that he executed. That's fuel. And I said this recently. Just think of Brian talking to a cellie one day, a cellmate, and going, "Did you make your DA cry or emotional? Or did you make your judge cry? Did you upset an entire university like I did?" That's exactly what he feeds off of. And so when you see moms, and let's talk about some of the breakouts. Let's talk about Stacy Chapman, Karen.
Yeah.
Uh, Tell us about that breakout session.
So Stacy Chapin's mom appeared in one of the breakout sessions with one of the executives of Othram Lab. Her name was Kristen Middleman. And well, I should first say, so Stacy Chapin shared with us when she heard her son Ethan was killed and those first frenetic hours of going to, she said she was in the grocery store in the produce section shopping when um, her son called Hunter called her saying, Ethan is not here. And that poor young man was in so much shock. That's all he could get out. So very poignant how she left the basket, got in her car, went home, and how her and her husband were making a plan to drive hours to get to the college to get their daughter Maisie and Hunter and all that. Just blur of shock, a blurred mix of shock, raw emotion, just devastation, So she spoke about that. And she also talked about, so the reason that she partnered with Othram Lab is because, don't forget, they got the ball rolling on the DNA on the knife sheath. And so they hinted at this presentation that the Chapin family, Stacy and her husband, were going to be supporting getting other Othram labs in other states like Idaho. Oh, one big
That was
doodle. Thank
kind
you
of neat.
so
That
much.
was
You're so kind.
like a satellite lab.
Yeah, or I mean, we don't know. Is this franchises? Is this just because remember the story of the Moscow police that carefully packaged up the knife sheath and double wrapped it and put it in the secure suitcase, and he escorted it on the airplane and they flew it down to Houston to Othram Labs, excuse me. So anyway, so they spent a lot of time talking about that. And Kristen Middleman, who is one of the executives with her husband of the lab, talked about what it was like on the receiving end, receiving the football, if you will, not to make a political pun here, but anyway, receiving this very important piece of evidence from, this huge quadruple murder that at the time they didn't even have a suspect. Well, we don't think they had a suspect. And if I think going back doing the dates, looking at the dates, they hadn't contacted Brian Koberger. So anyway, so it was really interesting. And now Stacy Chapin and Othram Lab are, having this partnership because Stacy spoke pretty, I mean, obviously from the heart and very poignantly about the next family and families that will be in her shoes and how she wants to have like expedited the ability to have police expedite to get this DNA into the hands of a lab like Othram Lab and start processing this stuff. I mean, look, we have incredible technology now, right? I mean, look at AI technology alone. And, common sense can kind of tell you, why would it take weeks and months for a lab, any lab, to process this stuff? So anyway, that was really interesting that I think that piece of it. Chris, what were your impressions when you were hearing that?
Well, they've been around for quite some time. They're a private lab. And the challenge that law enforcement has sometimes, obviously, it's cost. And in this situation, and there was no, cost boundaries, right? The governor had given them an extra $1 million to get it done, and they got it done. And then, if I remember right, Idaho State Police went back over there, picked up the evidence, and then they processed it even further, a little bit deeper, and that's when they got, on top of the samples that were separated. That's when they really hit the home run with Brian, okay? And got a confirmation that 100% it was him on the 19th or the 20th of December.
19th.
19th. Yeah. And so that's kind of one of the reasons, Karen and I went back was, okay, yeah, that was all going 150 miles an hour, but we didn't understand, for me anyway, I didn't understand why the car wasn't in play. I think I understand now because both of the universities were in the way, in my opinion. And I'm going to stick to that for anybody out there. You're not going to change my mind, because, you know, I know what we would have done as a homicide team. And I know what we would have done as a law enforcement agency. We would have been on that car like, you know, flies on poop. It would have been instantaneously. And what I really have always wondered, how much evidence did they lose?
You
When they
can't not help think that. Exactly. And remember what the WSU police chief said, which made no sense. He said to me, well, if we had contacted him, potentially we would have tipped him off. He could have gotten rid of evidence. Well, that's exactly what he did. You guys gave him an extra 30 days. Of course he did that.
Yeah.
So,
And they had, like I said, they had the car 12
mhm.
days after the homicide. And, you know, when everybody, you know, I've heard people, you know, comment, which is, you know, comment say, well, yeah, but, you know, there were 8,000 Elantras, you know. Well, yeah, okay, great. That's fine. 8,000 Elantras, but there were only 3 Elantras, and only one of them was white on on Washington State University. Only 3. It would have taken less than a half hour to eliminate those 3, and to fall back on the position of, well, it was the wrong year. Well, then in that bolo and in that email that we showed, it was either a silver, tan, light colored bronze, or white car. The year didn't matter. They had the make, the model, and the color correct. They had 3 out of the 4 criteria, and the agency chose to ignore it. I don't think the agency chose to ignore it. I think they knew, and it's coming out now even more and more and more. If you have not seen the ABC 2020 documentary piece on this, okay, you know, you've got to see that. And you know, Mary, I understand that concept, but everybody goes to a police academy, and everybody gets taught a homicide class and
well, and,
basics.
and not only that, they brought in the ISP, the Idaho State Police, and they had the FBI. They were not expected to do it alone. They had
Right.
resources and they had other places.
So
Um,
we'll never know. But what's happening now is the selfies are coming out. You got to go watch that 2020 piece from ABC, because they're showing a lot of his selfies. Uh, and yeah, so long story short, we'll never know what they had or they would have had 12 days after the homicide. We definitely know that that dirtbag had an opportunity to make that car immaculate to where they never found as much as much as they could. Yeah, I'm not suggesting you're sticking up for him either, Mary, at all. Okay, I agree with you. This is just an open dialogue, and it's okay to agree to disagree. It's not a problem.
Chris, to your point about University of Idaho and Washington State University being, let's say, embroiled, part of the investigation, no doubt, we've got solid evidence from Washington State University police chief and, of course, University of Idaho president himself put in his book that they were right in the mix with the investigators from the very beginning. I thought this tiny piece of a little bit of tea, just really interesting. If anybody, I don't even think you had to attend CrimeCon, because I think if you go on their website, you may find this. But in the brochure for when they talk about the speakers and give a bio and background on the speakers. Stacy Chapin's bio said that 5 months after the murders, University of Idaho granted Stacy and her husband honorary degrees from University of Idaho. As a journalist, I just found that little piece of information interesting. I don't have an opinion per se on that. I think it's a little strange that 5 months after 4 students were murdered, that University of Idaho awarded a honorary degree to one of the 4 sets of parents. Anyway, it's in her bio. It's out there. I'm sure it's on the internet. I was a little surprised. And Chris, when you just said we were talking about university involvement in that case, which seems unprecedented for us, to our knowledge, maybe it's happened elsewhere. I don't know. It just struck me as kind of interesting.
Yeah, and so and this kind of goes towards, some of the bigger picture, right? Okay, so Karen and I attended the Luigi presentation. Fascinating presentation. Part of there was an audience survey, and the audience was asked, to turn on your flashlight on your phone. And then, if you believe Luigi is guilty, hold your phone up. Okay. And, they did kind of a poll, right? A straw poll. And you see all these lights go up. And then you see, or the second question is, if you believe he's innocent, put your phone up. And phones went up, and there was clapping. And Anjanette Levy was, leading this, one of the folks leading this discussion. And it was surreal to hear that there are to see that there are so many folks that still are in this guy's camp. And it just, Karen, what was your feeling or thinking when you saw that?
I wasn't surprised. I think it, always shocked, but not surprised would probably be my thoughts on that. We're living at a time where people are viewing him in particular as, some kind of hero for doing what he did. And it was an interesting discussion that it was Anjanette Levy, it was the folks from Long Crime and News Nation. Ashley Banfield was there, Jesse Weber was there, and another reporter. Forgive me for not remembering her name, but rarely do we see somebody gunned down in cold blood on a busy street in the United States, caught on video, where a percentage of the population, I think a small but vocal one, thinks the guy is a hero, shouldn't be prosecuted, all that. And part of me is my journalism head thinks the more we talk about this, I hate giving it air, but there's people who sit outside of the courthouse for these hearings. There's he's going to be having another hearing, probably soon. And people are like cheering him on, so we know that. Another really macabre aspect to all this that they talked about, which we knew because we've reported this. If you go back to, or if you remember watching our coverage, and I'm sure most other coverages too, Luigi Mangione's defense team has this website. And on the website, it's like, click here for, I think it's the, it's not GoFundMe. What's the other one? Go Send. I forget what that one's called, but anyway, to donate to the fund for his defense. Well, they've raised something like $1.5 million of people giving money to this wealthy, privileged person from a prominent family in Baltimore, you know, raised money for his defense. His family is extremely wealthy and been prominent for decades. So I don't quite understand that. That website also says, hey, here's the address, write to Luigi in jail where he is right now. And so, you click over there and, who knows what to believe, right? Supposedly he's received thousands of letters, and they have it kind of documented. You can't see the letters, but, anyway, there's a lot of, defense that knows how to use the media, knows how to play the PR game. You've got that going on. But, that case is just so disturbing. I don't know what else you'd call it, and they talked about the victim is Brian Thompson, the United Healthcare UHC CEO, and he doesn't get, there's hardly any mention of him and his family and his children and that piece of it. So I thought how they presented it was really well done. And it is just one
It
of
was
those
very
disturbing
balanced.
cases.
It was very balanced. I mean,
It
they
was
talked
very,
about, the healthcare industry is ruthless and, terrible. And I don't think anybody disagreed with that, that there are claims that are righteous that are being turned down and, et cetera. But then, the other side of that coin, and I think, Anjanette made a great point. She goes, yeah, but it also comes down to this side of, where else is our moral compass? And then I think even Ashley Bamfield, she chimes in and goes, yeah, I mean, the guy, he's a father, he's got children. I mean, okay, so he's turning down claims. I'm sure there are people, on the other side of that claim that are dying. So, is there this in society, is there this idea that says, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth? And you see now, people even in that audience that are like, yeah, he should have been shot. And it was shocking for me, that piece, having stood over so many deceased people who died of such a violent way. And then you see even over the last couple of days, this young lady, this young Ukraine woman on a train, just looking at her phone, and some savage behind her, pulls a knife out. You see him unfolding the knife and viciously strikes her in the neck. And by the way, let's not forget where he learned that. He learned that in jail. They go for the carotid artery. And if you can get it, that's where you get arterial spray. And that's why you see the blood going down the center, dripping off of his knife, the center aisle on that train while she's dead. And how in the world does the mayor in Charlotte, North Carolina, come out and say, well, we have to be more compassionate towards the homeless and mental illness? What?
totally unacceptable.
The
No, people need,
politicians have lost their minds.
it's wrong answer.
They
Yeah,
have
no,
lost
horrible.
their minds. And this goes back to Luigi. Okay, fine. There's got to be other ways of dealing with this, but let's just stop enabling massacre in our streets. I mean, you have on video a guy getting shot in the back. Now we have on video just an innocent girl sitting on a train getting attacked from the back and getting stabbed viciously. And then you have the politicians on both sides say, what they're saying. Folks, I'm telling you, okay, if you want to see evil in action, go watch Brandon Wilson demonstrate on me how he slaughtered a 9-year-old boy. That's what we're dealing with. These people have been around for a very long time, and that was 1998. These people have been around for a very long time. What's broken in this country in terms of law and order is the politicians aren't listening to us as people. And that needs to change, because you can't have, if our what's broken in our healthcare system is just that. Our mental health care system is broken. That guy spent 14 times, or he was locked up 14 separate times. Every time that guy goes to jail, those 14 times, he is evaluated by a healthcare professional. I guarantee you, every one of those healthcare professionals put in their medical eval reports something about how dangerous this guy could be. Because the front line workers, the nurses, and the doctors that are in our jail facilities that are medicating these guys and gals, they get it, and they see it. What we need to somehow do is come to a realization that we need to do something. These poor people, I mean, Karen, when we were coming home and we stopped in Gallup, New Mexico, right? Mm-hmm. What was that guy doing at the corner? He had his bag. Tell everybody that visual. All the canned goods, out there on the corner.
Oh, wow.
Remember that guy?
Yeah. So this was like an exit off the freeway in front of a gas station, and it was a mini homeless encampment. There were a couple of them. They had like a shopping cart and a bunch of stuff and a dirty tarp. And I mean, they were mentally ill. I mean, these were people who needed some kind of services. And yet they're living out off a freeway. And I mean, to me, it's more something you now see a lot more in LA. We saw it driving through LA. Those of you who live in LA and around there, but anyway, I think it's in more places now than it's ever been. And yeah, it's crazy. It's nuts. But I think if the mentally ill are left to law enforcement to deal with, and we have a situation like what Chris is talking about, the Ukrainian girl stabbed to death on the train, we have got to have black and white law enforcement. As to quote Ashley Banfield from CrimeCon at the Luigi Manion presentation, Ashley says, "Puppies are cute and murder is bad." Point well taken. Okay. We have to have zero tolerance for this. We can't make excuses and say, we can't point the finger. Okay, if this is now in the criminal justice system, it has to be swift and it has to be justice for the victims.
Yeah, I mean, and all of us though, our platform, right? You can make a difference on a local level and in a state level. You can make a difference, because these poor people, and I call them poor people because they are mentally ill. It's not some of them, it's not their fault. I mean, yeah, let's just be honest. I mean, Lori Daybell's as nutty as a fruitcake. Okay. But you got to say, she's nuttier than a fruitcake. Okay. And I mean, she's going through portals and talking to things. Now, don't misunderstand me. She could have, episodes where she's bouncing in and out. But remember, the courts, they sent her, to the hospital before they put her on trial. And, they tried to get the right chemicals going in her head. I don't think it worked.
Yeah, she's a different example of the mentally ill on the street, though.
No, I get it. But the point being, right, there are people worse than her that are out there, and they're not getting any type of help. They're not getting any type of help. And this is why you get a guy sitting behind her who's been locked up 14 separate times, and the system keeps letting him out over and over and over again. You have to have, it has to stop. It has to stop. And, right here, I was part of a homeless psychiatric team that went out in the field where the homeless were. We got them into housing, applied for SOAR, which is a fast track to get SSDI. This can be done. See, exactly. Thank you, Tablet 2, for sharing this with us, because this is exactly the point. But I think there's so much volume. We really do have to open up medical facilities. When in 1989, I think is when it changed, because I was on the street in 82. I started on the street in 82. And during the first, 7-8 years of my career, we could take them to the hospital. There were psychiatric hospitals. And man, they did wonders for these folks. It was amazing. They got them balanced, they kept them in on a 72-hour hold, and they weren't taken to jail. And so the jails have turned into the mental facilities, and it's getting lost because the jails are kicking them out the back door, and the courts are kicking them out the back door. We need something in between again. Everybody remember when Geraldo Rivera went into the facilities in New York State, and that was kind of I think one of the momentous moments when Ronald Reagan, the president at the time, said, "You know what? Let's shut these places down." And I think that was a huge mistake. I think that was a big, big, big mistake. And we agree with you, Matey. Mentality and spiritual crisis. But social media has now, it's a game changer and has really emphasized the violence that's taking place in the world today. I mean, you just go on Twitter, just go on TikTok, and look at the violence. People destroying restaurants, McDonald's for, chicken McNuggets not being fried correctly, or they didn't get their sweet and sour sauce. We have a crisis going on here. And somehow that breeds a Luigi. That breeds a guy on the train who feels that he can just pull a knife out and within a few seconds end the life of another human being who he's never ever met, ever. Look at Kensington, Pennsylvania. Go to San Francisco. Go to Polk Street. Walk up and down those corridors. Go to 6th Avenue in Los Angeles. Go to the Parker Center in LA. Go to the barrios in San Diego. Just go to Oakland. In-N-Out Burger, one of the largest corporations in the country, is moving to Tennessee because they had to close their stores up in Oakland. And all of this is a signal, I think, to our society. And you know what was interesting is it's interesting to see CrimeCon take that on in a very organized, a very rational approach, to talking, to giving, the stage to Ethan Chapin's mom, Stacy, to say this happened to us. Okay. And what's the first thing they bring on, right? During the concept of why Brian does this, Ann Taylor cites, well, he's on the autism spectrum scale. They bring up a mental health issue as almost a defense for slaughtering 4 women or 3 women and Ethan in a house. Isn't the issue mental health? And, can we not, somehow come together? Autistic children are not slaughtering people in this country. It's not happening. It's not happening. Evil people are slaughtering people in this country, and they are built through mechanisms like inappropriate material that they watch forever. They watch it forever. And so that was that session. Karen, how about John Ramsey? What did you think of that one?
So I took notes during the John Ramsey's presentation. I thought that was just really interesting. Let me go through that just to kind of give a overview of what they shared. Chris and I were especially really interested to hear. I had never heard John Ramsey speak at an event like this. Of course, I've seen interviews over the years. So John was there with his lawyer, his longtime lawyer and friend, a guy named Hal Hayden, and author Paula Woodward. And they talked about getting the DNA tested from the evidence sitting at Boulder Police Department evidence room, that they wanted to go to an outside lab. So apparently right before CrimeCon started, the Thursday before, so just like a day or so before, John Ramsey and his folks had a meeting with Boulder Police Department. And Boulder Police said that they will send a small sample of the evidence. I think we're talking about JonBenét's underwear here, whatever they have. I mean, I don't know. Chris, do you know to what extent that evidence is still preserved? I mean, are we talking about a small square of material? Are we talking about something bigger, or do we not even know?
No, they have a male DNA unknown in her on her underwear.
Okay.
In the crotch area, by the way.
Okay. Her father, John Ramsey, is pushing to get this tested by an outside lab. So Boulder Police Department has resisted his efforts to do that. Apparently, there's a new police chief in Boulder, and he is willing to have CBI, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, their lab, test it for DNA. Now, as I just said that, side note, CBI lab had their own problems that I believe they're in the process of cleaning up. Hopefully they've cleaned it up. That's a whole separate issue. They had somebody in there. They had an actual lab tech, longtime lab tech woman who worked there, and she tainted and messed up hundreds, if not thousands of cases. That's the lab. So I can totally understand why John Ramsey wanted it done at a lab like Othram Labs. I keep saying labs, Othram Lab. Anyway, so they had this meeting, and so at CrimeCon, John Ramsey and his attorney were talking about it. And one of the things they're also pushing to get tested are the fibers on the handle of the wooden garrote that we know was the murder weapon for JonBenét Ramsey. and splinters were found. Wood splinters were found on JonBenét's body, according to John Ramsey. And so they feel like if they get to test the fibers with DNA technology now, it could yield some key information. And John went on to say that he is more hopeful now. Apparently, there's new leadership at Boulder Police Department. So, JonBenét Ramsey was killed December 25th, 1996. So we're talking just under 30 years. And it sounded like the Ramsey family was waiting for the leadership to change because let's not forget, I mean, obviously no one's forgetting that the parents are still viewed as potential suspects, which we here at the interview room always believed it was an outside suspect. We can get into that as well. And so obviously Boulder police made up their mind from, I believe, day one that they thought John Ramsey was the suspect. And also let's remember JonBenét died of strangulation with a garrote and a blow to her head. Okay, that's all according to the autopsy report. And then I thought it was interesting because, again, I mean, in my opinion, the coverage has been so slanted over the last 30 years, thinking that it was a member of the Ramsey family who did this. And actually, Chris, do you remember there's a new docuseries coming out?
Yep.
Jump in and fill in the details. I'm have spacing out here for a minute on. It's from the perspective of the lead investigator, Lou Smith, he passed away a number of years ago. But remember, Lou Smith had his top 10 suspect list. These are 10 people that he felt could be possible suspects. And none of them were family members. This was all stranger, people with records, whatever, that kind of thing. So they talked about that as well. And there was when they walked back through some of the facts about the case, which is so easy to forget. None of us, unless you just read a book about the case, it's kind of hard to remember all of it. There was a lead prosecutor in the case, Michael Kane was his name. He led the case and he led the grand jury in 1998. And at that point, the Ramseys had they volunteered to testify before the grand jury, but they were never allowed to testify. So, obvious question is, well, what was the grand jury fed? Were they given one side or were they given all the facts, or both, at least both sides? And it doesn't sound like that. Also, these days, so John is obviously pressing Boulder Police Department to test the fibers on the garrote, JonBenét's underwear, what is left of the evidence. And he talked about wanting to fix the broken system. There is a change.org petition that they just started.
It's pinned to the chat, by the way, at the top.
And it's called Colorado, Pass a Homicide Victim Family Rights Act. And the bill is, I guess the crux of this is, if after 3 to 4 years of a serious crime, obviously homicide, if the case goes cold, this would give families a right to have their case to be investigated, instead of the current system, which would be potentially pulling teeth, if you will, getting a law enforcement agency to go back and open up a cold case. This is also the reason that the Cold Case Foundation exists at all, is for this very reason that John Ramsey has put his finger on as far as the state of Colorado goes. The other interesting point that he said that John Ramsey offered to raise $1 million for Boulder Police Department for IgG testing. But Boulder police said, no, thanks. We don't want the money. And so John Ramsey is left to think that they don't want to even use DNA, to even have the advanced DNA and IgG testing done on this. Chris, what were some of your impressions when you were listening to this?
Well, thank goodness. It's about time. And, the interesting thing is in, 1997, here's one article. The LA Times did another article, but so they reached out to our agency, say right here, it talks all about it. This guy right here actually leaked information to my wife right there, who wrote a story in 1997. And when we got married, because we dated for 3 years, and when we finally got married, I said, who leaked the information? And she never told me until we got married.
I don't give up my sources.
I was so mad because I was contacted by Lou Schmidt in 97, October of 97. And you can look it up. It's in the LA Times as well and other papers. But anyway, I was behind the scenes, and we were we were tasked with trying to find a registered sex offender that lived in the neighborhood near JonBenét. And he had come out to California, specifically our area. And it was all top secret. Nobody knew. And then one day I read this story above the fold from one Karen. Can I tell him your maiden name? Are you okay? Okay.
No.
Anyway, but her writing name at the time was one Karen, above the fold. And I was like, what?
Look, I had really good sources back in the day. And if the lead investigator for the JonBenét Ramsey case was calling the local police department, one of the places I covered as a reporter, somebody told me, but you know what? I think it was a good thing because, first of all, in fact, I called Lou Schmidt as a reporter to verify, and he wouldn't tell me anything, and then he hung up the phone, which, of course, he's being a good lead investigator. He doesn't want stuff leaked out. But I felt it was necessary. When I heard that told me back in October of 97, maybe the parents aren't the right suspects. So, because all the coverage was all about the parents. And, again, it's just an instinct. It's just from being a reporter covering this stuff. It didn't make sense to me. I was in the camp. Now, everybody has their own opinion about this and what they did release and how violent this act was. For whatever reason, I didn't think the parents were the suspects. And so when I got wind of that information and wrote it, I at least it presented the other side that wasn't getting out. So I don't think that was
so a bad thing. If you look right here, this is the first Google search. Ramsey Inquirer leads to Oceanside, LA Times.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's me. Okay. And I clicked on it, but they want me to pay for a subscription and I'm not buying it. Okay. Ask police in Suburban for information on a man. And there it goes. I'm not buying it.
Well, here's the good news. We now
I
have
and I'm not buying it now.
We just got a free 1-year trial for newspapers.com. So now I'm going to get, I'm going to go back and I'm going to dive into that. And just, So, okay.
So real fast in that particular caper. So I was asked, remember my background is criminal behavior analysis in relationship to pedophilia and those who kill children for sexual gratification. We don't get invited to a lot of dinner parties. Those of you who met me at CrimeCon know that we're a hoot because I've seen a couple of things in my time, and humor is very important to me, and I love all of you. I really do. I don't know why, but I just love people. Anyway, so back then, I'm on the phone with Lou Schmidt, which it's all public knowledge now. It's pretty much out there. And we're talking, and I asked him, because he wants me to find this guy and shake him down because he was a registered RSO, like I talked about. And he's like, I asked him, I said, well, give me a briefing on what the murder weapon was. And he tells me, he said it was a garrote. It was a paintbrush that was broken in half. And there is a shoelace that was tied to it. I said, oh, interesting. And her hair was caught in it. And he gave me the whole 411. And because of my training, I asked him, I said, well, okay, I know there's a note, that's been in the public, et cetera, but tell me how many times the garrote was applied. Because when you think about a situation like this, first of all, you have to have the sophistication in relationship to understanding what a garrote is, A, and then B, why would you apply it different times? If it's an autoerotic situation, then you're going to have multiple times where that weapon is going to be applied. And sometimes, that's a thrill, right? That's a thrill. And so long story short, he tells me, well, at this point, it's 3 to 4 times in application. So basically what the suspect's doing is the suspect is tightening and loosening that weapon 4 separate times. Think about that. If it's the mother, then she's using that weapon 4 times to bring potentially JonBenét in and out of consciousness potentially. Because if the blow to the head didn't kill her right away, she's still alive. And so that weapon's being used 4 separate times. Well, that's an autoerotic, sexual deviant behavior. And immediately in my head, I said, mom's out. Mom's out in my head. Okay. Now, I didn't have all the evidence, of course. Okay. But, that in of itself was alarming to me. So next thing I know, a couple of days later, above the fold, that young lady over there has an exclusive story, about, blah, blah, blah. We're looking into this Boulder Police Department. Well, Lou Schmidt called and he was furious because somebody had leaked that information to the public and nobody knew that we were behind the scenes, for lack of a better term, trying to locate this suspect. So that said, that's how dangerous my sweetheart is and why I never called her for a whole year when she left her messages on my phone. We laugh at it now. But that's reality. That is reality. Because there is no way I was going to talk to that reporter. Forget it. Now look at this, almost 28 years later. She's sitting next to me. And I love her to death. All right, let's show a video of some neat people that we met, and let's talk about them briefly, because what an exciting time we had. And we are hoping that you guys are going to come over to the next one in Vegas, Lost Wages. And we're going to hopefully get to know you. But let me add this real fast. So that's Mark here with his sweet wife, with Vinny. This is Vasquez. He's a Atlanta detective, a legend. This young lady here is from Tenderfoot.
And she's a documentary filmmaker.
This was a fascinating discussion. And we were talking about Murdoch and Mark. I mean, don't you love Mark Tinsley? I mean, who doesn't love this guy? I mean,
classic, classic moment when Judge Cliff Newman called him a tiger for more than one reason, right?
Yep, more than
during
one.
the Alec Murdoch double murder trial. Very classic. He's a great guy, very down to earth. His wife is awesome too.
And if you came in late, they have a new podcast. It's called Everything They Missed. And you gotta, go listen.
The link is in the description below.
Yeah, go start listening to that podcast. Okay, so I want to move on here. This is just a general overall. This is Lauren from
True Crime. Yep, she's awesome.
She's amazing. We really got to know her on a different level. That was really super fun. And then, of course, Ashley Bamfield.
And Chris is often on his show. Yep.
And this is just one young lady that walked up, and this is Miss Martino. And awesome. She was a hoot, absolute hoot. Just a great, great person. And this is Miss Deborah.
That's Deborah from Tennessee.
And she gave us this neat little coaster from our debt, which is sitting here now on my desk. How fun was that? And this is Greg and Scott.
Two of the four guys from the behavior panel.
Yep.
They're awesome. And a very sweet lady who came up and, I can't remember her name, but she was very kind, very sweet.
Yeah. And it was great hanging out with those guys. We're going to do some stuff as time goes on here. We talked at length, just amazing people. Everybody know this one? This is Ann Jeanette.
She's awesome.
There's Karen and Ashley.
That's my fangirl picture with Ashley.
And this is Ethan's mom, Stacy. And this was such a moving presentation. It really was. It was a really neat, it was neat. That's the first time they met after the gag order was lifted.
And so that's Stacy Chapin and her husband on the right, and that are the Middlemans, Kristen and her husband. They are the owners of Othram Lab.
Yep, out of Texas. These are just some general shots of Podcaster Row. This young lady here thought I was
a cute one.
She thought I was a goofball, and she didn't. I said, "Do you mind if I take a selfie with you?" And she was so embarrassed she covered her face.
That's funny. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
And I don't know who that goofy is. And here's a legend. Those of you who have been on our channel know Ann. Yeah, I serve with her, and I'm honored to serve with her on the Cold Case Foundation. Just Dr. Ann Burgess, another legend like Dr. Bricado and many others. This was a neat meetup. Karen, you want to talk about Vanessa?
Oh, Vanessa from Unmasked. If you haven't watched her YouTube channel, get over there and subscribe. She does great work. She's been doing this for many years. She's just a great lady and super sweet, so nice. And Vanessa's awesome. She knows how to deep dive on these cases. So it was
Yeah.
great meeting her, getting to meet her.
Super smart, super great channel.
Yeah.
And we have Ellen and
Kelly.
Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
It's so Ellen and Kelly had an idea that talked about, this is Kelly on the right and Ellen's on the left. And Kelly had this idea that Maddie and Kaylee actually solved their own crime by fighting with Brian. And she and Kelly thought that Kaylee had grabbed the knife sheath away from Brian. Where everybody else has been thinking, and I just thought it was a brilliant, thought process, that Brian dropped it. Their thinking was, well, maybe they pulled it away from him during the fight.
Or
And
maybe they just knocked it out of his hand, and that was that. One
and
of
then
them. Mhm.
and then Xana interrupted while that was going on, and he was distracted and had to go take care of her. Isn't that interesting, guys? I
Yeah, it was
thought that one
really
was great.
interesting. Yeah.
Again, this is my philosophy's always been that citizens solve crimes.
Well, and then there's always, God always leaves a witness. There's always that.
and they were a hoot, by the way. They were a hoot.
Yeah, that was fun.
And so we all hung out together. We all had so much fun. There's Mark, and this is his wife. Tell everybody about these two, Karen.
Yeah, we just talked about them, but we'll just say it again because we're looking at them. So Mark Tinsley is the attorney for the Mallory Beach family. He really helped put Alec Murdaugh in prison for life, 2 life sentences. And he's just a super great guy. They have a podcast, and his wife, Stephanie, pictured there, just started her own new podcast called Everything They Missed. Gotta love that title. It's so good. And we have a link in our description below. So we would encourage you, if you go there, you can just, listen to the podcast and follow her podcast. It's free, doesn't cost anything. They're great people. And we have to have him back on the show, talk about something other than Murdaugh.
I know, right? And then
Yeah.
Dr. Morgan, Joseph Scott Morgan.
Joe Scott Morgan of the Body Bags podcast.
And if you've not listened to that, go listen. We are on Nancy a lot of times together, and that's his sweet wife photobombing us in the back there. And you'll notice I don't have a picture with Nancy because I'm going to say it again. She was like trying to herd cats. She was everywhere. And everywhere I went to try to, go talk to her, she was gone. She was all to another event. So I'm sure she's going to give me some grief, but I'm going to beat her to it. But I tell her I tried hunting you down, and you are really hard to catch, Nancy Grace. That's it in a nutshell. Karen,
Okay.
did we have a great time?
We had a great time, and we really didn't know what to expect. It was our first CrimeCon. It was wonderful. And to me, it's fun meeting other creators and seeing the people that we all see on TV. But really meeting you guys and getting time to talk with you and shake your hand, give you a hug, get your name, find out where you came from. It was wonderful. And it was so cool. Like, I love hearing the stories that like sisters travel and meet together at CrimeCon. There's groups of women who meet at a CrimeCon, and then now it's like your CrimeCon travel buddies that they come to CrimeCons together. People who've met at CrimeCon. just love it. Moms bringing their daughters, daughters bringing their moms. And it's such a wonderful time. It's literally the only time that we get actual interaction with, people who watch the show and are into true crime as well. It's not just our channel. You guys watch other ones, and we're all following the same cases. So it was just a wonderful, exciting time. We were very overwhelmed. I can speak for Chris. We were overwhelmed at everyone's kindness and just sincerity, and it was wonderful to meet you guys. And we look forward to being able to do it again at the next one.
Most definitely. And we were humbled by each and every one of you that came up and did say hello to Karen and I. We're just blown away. The neat little gifts that you shared with us, your hearts, your thoughts, your ideas. We can't thank you enough for your kindness and your generosity and supporting us. Okay. The end piece of this is we also stopped in the area where Suzanne Morphew's body was found in Colorado. So we're going to be putting something together on that. You're not going to want to miss that piece of the interview room where we feel that we listen to you and we bring true crime from a true perspective of two people that have been covering this for a couple of weekends who, we bring this to you because we hope we're covering it correctly for you. And we hope that you're enjoying our content. And we only ask that you share these types of videos out to your friends and your family. So get over to the lab tonight. Dr. Picado's over there with Josh, and we will see you on the next one coming up. Aloha, everybody.
Hard working every day, I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts, wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah, make special memories together. I'll be your company now and forever. I say we fly away, you and me, go to our favorite place. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. I need a summer breeze, some fresh air to put my mind at ease. No cares. You wanna come with me? Me and you go to our favorite tree. Are you ready now? We jump on a plane now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. Don't hesitate now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. We'll never come down. We're going away. Yeah, we're going away. You and me. Feeling the sun on my face in a while.